Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, call Halal Yamla, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Hakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone, from whom I learned the truth from, and also peace and salutations to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And the title of this video is going to be, By Terrible Things in Righteousness Will the Lord Answer His Elect? Okay, will the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai, answer His elect? Okay, the elect of the nation of Israel. Those of us that are of the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel in these latter days, the remnant. Okay, those of us that have been called to the truth, woken up to the fact that we're Israelites and working out our salvation with fear and trembling, hoping to be chosen. Okay, to be chosen for salvation, deliverance, all right, and for mercy from Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai in these latter days. Okay, because as we clearly see, we're at the end of Esau's world. All right, and Esau is pretty much going haywire with his pseudoscience and his technology and his pride. All right, and he's going to use his science and his technology and AI and all these things to pretty much come after any and all opposition of his NWO agenda. All right, and we especially know that he's going to come after the elect, the remnant of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai, as it speaks of in Revelation, the 12th chapter, and around about the 17th verse, where it talks about the dragon, the revival of ancient Rome, which is America, NATO, and the EU, was wroth with the woman being the nation of Israel, all 12 tribes, and he's going to make war with the remnant, okay, the elect, which keep the commandments of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai, which, a major part of the commandments of the Lord is what? Be faithful unto death, don't bow the knee to this beast system or its image, and most certainly don't take his mark. Okay, these are all, part of the commandments of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai that he left for us in these latter days. Okay, and as well, the remnant who also, keep the testimony of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, which is what? The spirit of prophecy. Okay, we know Esau, Edom, through AI and through pseudoscience, is getting ready to come down with great wrath, especially against us, the hopeful elect. All right, and as the scripture speaks about in 2nd Ezra 16, there's going to be great insurrection against them that fear the Lord. And so, we, that are of the hopeful elect, that have this testimony, okay, and keep the commandments of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai to the best of our ability, okay. As we see Esau, Edom getting ready to make a move against us, all right, we sigh and cry to Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai daily for all the wickedness and all these abominations throughout the four corners of the earth, and ultimately pray to Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai to deliver us out of Esau, Edom's hand, as well as the hand of the rest of our enemies, these heathen nations. Okay, but as ultimately Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai is going to show that He's dealing with us, the hopeful elect, and that He's with us. Okay, through through terrible acts. Okay, divine intervention, right? And real quick, let's get real quick 2nd Ezra 15. Second Ezra 15 and verse 7, it says, Therefore saith the Lord Yahweh, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Okay, and that's talking about Esau, Edom, okay, the so-called white man, starting with his top elite banking families and those that rub elbows with them. Okay, they wickedly exercise wickedness all throughout the four corners of the earth, using their pseudoscience and their technology and their AI to figure out how to further destroy lives of people throughout the earth, especially our people. Okay, setting up a NWO system, all right, all governed and ran by AI and technocrats, okay, imposing mass surveillance over all humanity, carbon tracking, social credit scores, okay, and then ultimately, we all know it's going to ultimately all lead to the MOTB, the microchip, okay. This is what these devils, these Edomites, wickedly exercise within themselves, okay, as the scriptures even speaks about in Psalm 64. They're the workers of iniquity, okay, the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, the secret counsels of the wicked, all right, talking about Esau, Edom, starting with its top banking families. It says, again, 2nd Ezra 15 verse 8, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. So the Lord is no longer going to suffer the wickedness of Esau, Edom, and his elites, because when in time, as we're at the end of Esau's world, where the Lord is exposing Esau, putting shameful spewing on his glory through great inquisition that the spirit of Yahweh Shemashai is making upon the rulership of Esau, Edom in these latter days, okay. And the Lord is no longer holding his tongue against the wickedness of Esau and these heathen, okay, by sending out the prophets, okay, us the hopeful elect, the men of the Lord, the prophets, to testify against Esau and these heathen, okay, and as well to preach and prophesy their judgment, their divine judgment, okay, for all the wickedness and the destruction and the confusion that they've spread throughout the four corners of the earth. It says, behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me. And who is the innocent and righteous blood? Us, the hopeful elect, the remnant, okay, that are sighing and crying to Yahweh Shemashai daily because of all these abominations and wickedness, okay, amongst our people first and foremost, and the wickedness amongst Esau and these heathen nations. It says, behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. All right, verse 9, and therefore saith the Lord Yahweh, I will surely avenge them, and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Okay, so we're in a time where Yahweh Shemashah is getting ready to avenge his elect. Okay, avenge his elect. All right, and it says, verse 10, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. So if Yahweh Shemashai wasn't shortening up these days and these other days, okay, we as a nation of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and especially we that are the hopeful elect, the Lord wasn't shortening up these days for the elect's sake. We would all be led to slaughter like a flock of sheep. Okay, no flesh will be saved, as Yahushua said. Looking at the how Esau is moving in his latter days, right? Moving with warp speed to fulfill his NWO desires, and pretty much have all humanity enslaved under a digital technological system, global digital technological system, fulfilled in the MOTB, the microchip, right? If Yahweh Shemashah wasn't shortening up these days, we, the hopeful elect, we be led as a flock to the slaughter. Okay, none of us would be saved. All right. If if this devil Esau Edom would be able to get the victory and fulfill his NWO desires. It says, 2nd Ezra 15 verse 10 again, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. Okay, and the Egypt that is speaking of right here is a modern day spiritual Egypt, which is America. Okay, verse 11, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Okay, so Yahweh Shemashai is smiting this modern day Egypt, okay, which is America, all right, with plagues as before. Okay, because even when you go into the book of Exodus and you read about the different plagues that the Lord brought upon Pharaoh and the ancient Egyptians, okay, those were terrible works by the Lord during that time to answer his people, to let our forefathers in ancient Egypt know that, the power of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is with us and is getting ready to deliver us out of the hand of Pharaoh and the Egyptians. Okay, that's what those plagues, that was one of the main reasons why the Lord brought those plagues upon Pharaoh and the ancient Egyptians. But to signify that, look, it's getting ready to bring an end to the Egyptian dynasties and their kingdoms and deliver his people out of Egypt. Okay, with the mighty hand, which is ultimately what? That angel, Yahushua, okay, through the Red Sea, right? And guess what? In these latter days, as the bulk of the 12 tribes of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, are here in America, the modern day Egypt. Well, guess what? Yahweh Shema Shah is getting ready to perform a second Exodus for us. Okay, but this time it's not going to be all of our people that's going to be delivered out of this place, because as it speaks of in Zechariah 13, the Lord is going to destroy 2/3 of our people in this land, okay, and only save the 1/3, the remnant. Okay, so it's only the elect of the nation of Israel that's going to be delivered, okay, upon this second Exodus when Yahushua returns. And Lord willing, I pray that I'm of that number of the elect, the 1/3, the remnant. All right. But 2nd Ezra 15 verse 11 again, it says, "But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof." Okay, and again, this is talking about America, the modern day Egypt. All right, and the Lord is going to destroy this place with thermonuclear missiles in World War III, as well as the fire from the chariots of Yahushua and the holy angels. Okay, it's going to be the missiles along with the chariots that the Lord is going to use to destroy this land, America, the modern day Egypt thereof. Okay, and turn this place to a lake of fire. But before the Lord brings judgment upon America, as it said, He's going to smite this place, okay, with plagues. All right, and we already see America being smitten in various ways. The Lord is smiting this place economically, financially, right? Just look at the average American in 2025, okay? Financially catching hell, in debt, all right? Working these jobs, working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, okay? And still barely able to make ends meet, still barely able to afford rent, along with food, as well as feed their children, right? People that are working jobs and 2 jobs and 3 jobs, still having to rely on government assistance. Okay, the dollar is collapsing and losing its influence throughout the world, month by month and year by year. Okay, and on top of that, of course, you got more and more people losing jobs in America in 2025, from layoffs to furloughs to people getting fired, and ultimately losing their jobs due to AI, okay? And as well, another major aspect of Yahweh Shema Shai smiting this modern day Egypt is by setting up the cruel Lord over this place, the fierce king, pursuant to Isaiah 19 verse 4, which we clearly see is DJ Donald Trump, okay? So that's another major example of how the Lord is smiting this modern day Egypt, okay? Through this cruel Lord, this terrible king, DJ Donald Trump, all right, to further speed up the systematic collapse of this modern day Egypt, America, all right. But again, these are all examples of terrible things that Yahweh Shema Shai is doing in righteousness in these latter days to to pretty much let the elective of his people know that, hey, Yahweh Shema Shai, he sees us, he sees this sacrifice they were offering up under Yahweh Shai's sacrifice in his ministry, okay? He hears the sighs and the cries and the prayers of his elect, okay? He sees, his elect, constantly hastening for the kingdom of heaven to be established a righteous kingdom and a righteous government to rule the earth and root out all this wickedness in the earth. Okay. And as it says in Isaiah, in Psalm 65 and verse 5, it says, "By terrible things and righteousness wilt thou answer us, O Yahweh of our salvation." Okay, of whose salvation? The salvation of the elect of the nation of Israel. Okay, the 1/3, the remnant. It says, "Who art the confidence of all the ends of the earth, and of them that are afar off upon the sea." Okay, and why is the Lord Yahweh Shemashai the confidence of all the ends of the earth? Because you have Israelites, okay, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And more importantly, you have the elect of the nation of Israel scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Okay, that's why Yahweh Shai said in Matthew 24, verses 29 to 31, that pretty much when Yahweh Shai comes back, okay, he's going to, with the angels, he's going to send the angels throughout the four winds of the earth to gather the elect, okay, to gather up the elect of the nation of Israel. You can read about that in Matthew 24, verses 29 to 31, where Yahweh Shai said that. Okay, he's going to send the angels throughout the four winds of the earth, okay, the four corners of the earth, to gather the elect, all right, the elect of the nation of Israel, you know. So that's why it says right here in Psalm 65 that the Most High is the confidence of all the ends of the earth. Because again, you have Israelites scattered throughout the four corners of the earth in his latter days, and more importantly, the elect of the nation of Israel scattered throughout all nations throughout the four corners of the earth. All right. So, in terrible things and righteousness is Yahweh Shemashai going to answer his elect. Okay. Let his elect know in these latter days that Yahweh Shemashai is with us. He sees us. He hears our prayers. Okay. He sees this this sacrifice that we're offering up in this ministry, under Yahweh Shai sacrifice. Okay. Repenting, converting to Yahweh Shemashai, teaching his word, feeding his sheep, going out on the highways and the byways and preaching his word, preaching the downfall of Esau, Edom, and these heathen nations and their rulership. Okay. Yahweh Shemashai sees the work that we, the hopeful elect, are doing in these latter days. So therefore, hey, the Lord's going to respond. Okay. He's going to respond to this work that we put in. Okay. By performing terrible things. All right. Which, when we go into this word terrible, all right, this word terrible is Strong's H3372, Yara, and it means to fear, rever, be afraid, and then it also goes into to stand in awe of, be awed, to fear, reverence, honor, respect, okay, dreadful. And it also goes into to cause astonishment and awe, to inspire reverence or godly fear or awe, right? So the Lord is going to do things in the earth in his latter days, okay, on behalf of his elect, okay, that's going to further inspire his elect to reverence Yahweh Shemashai, praise Yahweh Shemashai, and godly fear, okay, because again, the Lord in his latter days, especially when Esau, Edom, in the left hand, finally makes a move against the Lord's elect, his prophets, his teachers, his apostles, starting with the apostles and the bishops and the elders of Great Millstone, down to the least of us of the hopeful elect, preaching his word in sincerity and truth. When Esau in the left hand is finally going to make a move against us, the hopeful elect, and Yahweh Shemashai is going to counter this devil, okay, by doing what? Creating divine intervention for his elect, lifting up a standard for his elect, as it speaks of in Isaiah 59 verse 19, and even using the holy angels to protect the elect in his latter days, such as the archangel Michael, pursuant to Daniel 12 and 1. You see that? And you best believe, all right, when the Lord, okay, when you read it throughout the scriptures, anytime the Lord sends his holy angels to provide some type of divine intervention for his men, for his elect. Okay, for his elect to be able to escape out of certain situations or endure through certain situations. It wasn't always done through you know through this some soft extravagant type of events, for lack of better words. No. Okay, anytime the Lord sent his angels to provide divine intervention for his men, okay, it was always done through, terrible, awe-inspiring acts. Okay, such as, when you read in Genesis, when the Lord sent the other two angels to, on behalf of Lot, to protect Lot when those wicked men of Sodom and Gomorrah tried to break into, when they broke into Lot's house. What did those two angels do to the wicked men of Sodom and Gomorrah when they broke into Lot's house? They blinded them. Okay, they blinded those men. Okay, which is what? A terrible act. Through those men being blinded, that gave Lot and his family, along with those two angels, a window to pretty much slip out of the house and escape out of Sodom and Gomorrah before the Lord destroyed those 5 cities. You see, so that's an example of the Lord using his angels to do a terrible act to protect his elect, to protect his men, the righteous and the just. You see that? Well, guess what? Hey, we the nation of Israel, and more importantly, we the hopeful elect. The main bulk of us are here in America, which is the modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, right? The modern day spiritual Egypt and its spiritual Sodom. Well, guess what? The Lord is going to send his holy angels to protect his elect in these times. You see that? As Esau, Edom, the modern day Sodomites, right? The modern day Sodomites are getting ready to make a move against, the righteous, the elect. Okay, because just like it tells you in, I believe in Peter's, where it talks about how Lot, the righteous man, was vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. Okay, well, hey, we the hopeful elect, we feel the same way every day here in Babylon the Great, this modern day Sodom. Okay, vexed with the wickedness and the filthy conversation of Babylon the Great, America. You see, and so the Lord is going to send his angels to protect his elect and create divine intervention all over again in his modern day Sodom in Egypt. Okay, for his remnant. All right, terrible things in righteousness is the Lord going to answer his elect. All right, and let us know that he's with us to the end, and he's getting ready to bring salvation for us and deliver us out of the hands of our enemies. Okay. Let's go to 2nd Ezra 9. 2nd Ezra 9 and verse 5, it says, "For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest." Verse 6, "Even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonder and powerful works, and endings and effects and signs." Okay, so the endings are associated with effects and signs, miracles, okay, divine intervention, all right, terrible things in righteousness the Lord is going to perform for his elect, right? These are all a part of the signs and effects that's associated with the end, okay, the end of Esau's world. It says, verse 7, "And every one that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby ye have believed." Okay, and who is this talking about? The elect, the remnant. Okay, the elect are the ones ordained to be saved, and the ones that are, built up on that most holy faith in latter days, and putting in the work to show forth their faith. Okay, that we believe and hope to Yahweh Shemashai that is going to deliver us. Okay, it says, verse 8, shall be preserved from the said perils. Okay, what perils? Jacob's trouble, right? All hell breaking loose, all out anarchy, civil war, civil unrest, famine, pestilence, plagues. All right, just to name a few. Okay, Esau's NWO agenda, the hour of temptation, the charagma, all right, AI governance, you know, these are, these are the said perils that's coming down the pipe. It says, 2 Ezra 9 verse 8 again, shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land, and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. Okay, because the elect were ultimately preordained and predestinated to receive salvation in these latter days. Okay, according to the will of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, and as we as it's going into in the chapter, the end and salvation, okay, is all associated with effects and signs. Okay, the Lord performing terrible works and terrible things in righteousness, okay, on behalf of his elect. Okay, those that are ordained from the beginning to be saved, okay, to show forth their faith to Yahweh Shema Shai through their works, okay, and be saved from the said perils, right? And the Lord's going to perform all these things for his elect through terrible acts, okay, awe-inspiring acts, okay, things that are going to have these heathen and even 2/3 of our people shook, okay, because when the Lord begins to bring these end time judgments and these end time plagues and mighty works into the earth, okay, all that are not of the elect, they're going to be confounded by all these things, okay. They're going to be confounded by the mighty works of Yahweh Shema Shai, and ultimately fall victim to the mighty works of Yahweh Shema Shai, his terrible acts, right? Because mind you as well, the scriptures also tells you in the book of Job that the Most High is, one of the titles of the Most High is that he's the King of terrors, all right? So when Yahweh Shema Shai does terrible acts, okay, when the Lord does terrible acts, okay, for the elect, his terrible acts are done in righteousness, because the Lord's terrible acts work on behalf of the elect. But on the other hand, for the non-elect, right, the Esau, the heathen nations, including 2/3 of our people, the Lord's terrible acts are, destructive to the wicked and the ungodly. You see that? So, I'll read it one more time. Psalm 65 verse 5 again. It says, by terrible things in righteousness wilt thou answer us, O Yahweh, power of our salvation, who art the confidence of all the ends of the earth, and of them that are afar off upon the sea. See that? So, hey, us Akim there, that are of the hopeful elect, and Yahweh Shema Shai, he hears our prayers. He sees the work that we're doing. He sees our faith. Okay. He's hearing the sighs and the cries that we offer up to him daily. Okay, because of all this wickedness and evil that's going on throughout the earth. And so we're just about at the time, as we're at the end of Esau's world, where the Lord is getting ready to answer back and respond to our prayers and our sighs and cries. Okay, by way of terrible things, terrible acts. Okay, terrible things that's going to work on our behalf. All right, is ultimately going to lead to our salvation upon the return of Mashiach Yahushua. See, so so with that, Lord willing, this video is edifying, and until next time, shalom.